Much to the surprise of many, the Chicago Bulls have managed to not only be competitive with the Milwaukee Bucks, but through 2 games look like the better of the 2 teams. And as much as I would love to praise the very clear leap the Bulls have made in their play as a team, you and I both know they have no business being tied, let alone being just a few missed shots away from 2-0 without home court advantage. So what exactly is wrong with the Milwaukee Bucks? Let's talk about it. Before I get on with this video, please subscribe for nearly playoff NBA content. I am trying to upload basically daily over here and definitely daily over on my second channel where I am doing post-game recaps for damn near every game that happens. So if you're looking for some lower quality but covering all your base stuff, you get it there, where I'm trying to hit 100K by the end of the playoffs, by the way, and subscribe here for the higher quality stuff. Also drop a like, it only takes 1 second and it makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the algorithm. What is perplexing about how the Bucks have played in the first 2 games of this series is that it's, well, basically deja vu. Pretty much everything I can criticize the Bucks for doing wrong through these 2 games are the exact same criticisms I had for them early on in the Nets series last year. If you do not remember, the Bucks offense to start the Nets series was really suspect, in spite of the fact that the Bucks were a great offensive team in the regular season, and while the Nets were better than expected defensively, they were no powerhouse to be certain. And the main reason things went so poorly was an overly simplistic offense. The Bucks offense could essentially be summarized as Giannis tries to dribble inside, it either works and it results in a score, foul, or a good pass from him, or it doesn't and it results in an awkward shot much further from the paint than you would like, or him being forced to pass out and he'd be flustered and throw a bad pass. This also resulted in more jump shots than you would like, and there was even a frequent embarrassing occurrence where he would drive inside, get cut off, throw the ball back out, get it back, and then drive again only to get cut off again. It was some seriously ugly basketball. And while this was going on with Giannis, there was a serious lack of off-ball movement from everybody else on the Bucks. This made Jrue Holiday and Khris Middleton much less effective, as they were pretty much only getting catch and shoots or trying to force something up when there was little time left on the clock remaining. This was not a good look for Giannis, Mike Budenholzer, or the Bucks in general. The Bucks game plan might have been something I have criticized them before in the past for being, which is just Giannis big, Giannis go. Luckily though, the team made a huge adjustment and this completely turned the series and really the trajectory of the Bucks around. The adjustment in question was playing him more like a traditional big man. Giannis is very much capable of being the type of player who takes the ball up the floor and gets to the rim off of the dribble. Absolutely. Because he is so big and strong, he can work through being not always a perfect ball handler or decision maker in those situations. But in terms of game planning for him, that is the easiest version of Giannis to game plan for. But when he is utilized more like a big man, being used as the roll man out of the pick and roll, doing backdoor cuts, when he's running the break, he gives up the ball rather than taking it himself just to get it back, posting up more selectively rather than basically just walking into a post up. He is more dynamic that way, more effective that way individually, and more importantly, because it puts the ball in his hands less, it gives Jrue Holiday and Khris Middleton more opportunities with the ball in their hands to actually get in rhythm. It's really a win-win. It makes Giannis better, it makes his teammates better, and thus it makes the Bucks better. This was the lesson that the Bucks learned on their championship run, and being that this lesson led to, well, a championship, you'd think it would have stuck. But versus the Bulls, it is right back to old habits, and this has made guarding Giannis not the overwhelming task that it should normally be. 9 times out of 10, Giannis is catching the ball and is getting an immediate double team, and the Bulls have versatile enough switching players capable of getting decent contests if they are late closeouts, and often just not even allowing an open shot to begin with. But from a one-on-one perspective, the way the Bucks have played has taken what should be an unstoppable force and made it, well, manageable. Here's a metaphor for you that hopefully won't get me demonetized. A 12 gauge is a really powerful weapon, capable of Anybody with, sorry, let's rephrase that for monetization purposes. Capable of taking anybody out with one shot easily. I don't care how big and strong you are, take one of those to the chest and you're done. But if you load this 12 gauge shotgun with a bunch of birdshot, then it's not really gonna hit that hard. For those who don't know, birdshot is a type of shell where the pellets distribute more, so it covers more area, but it does not hit nearly as hard, and it's not really all that fatal unless you're really, really close. The Bucks, when they run the offense the way they have versus the Bulls so far, is taking Giannis, who is the 12 gauge shotgun, and they're loading it with birdshot rather than buckshot, and still doesn't feel good to get hit by birdshot, but it's much better than buck. And they're doing this and then seemingly being confused by the fact that it's not delivering a killing blow. Now, as for why the Bucks have taken such a nonchalant approach, well, I think they have underestimated this Bulls team. They intentionally lost the game to get this matchup, so they clearly thought this was going to be the easy way to go, and they came out in game one with basically no game plan. Then they seemed to chalk game one up to a fluke where they narrowly escaped, but then they did the exact same shit, and this time they lost. So it feels like the Bucks are playing down to their competition, and to their surprise, the Bulls are not just taking that on the chin. So that's what's wrong with the offense, and honestly, this series turning in the other direction is pretty much entirely dependent on them going back to the thing that was effective before. Now, as for the defensive side of the floor, I really don't think there's any adjustment necessary because the areas where they have been getting burned are kind of the right places to be. In game one, the Bulls shot terribly from the field, and in game two, the Bulls hit a lot of shots that you really can't do much about, and you just kind of have to live with that result regardless of what kind of defensive scheme you have. The two main types of shots I'm referring to are the DeRozan mid-range shots and the Nikola Vucevic three-pointers. Leaving Nikola Vucevic open on the pick and pop is the right play because 9 times out of 10 it is DeMar DeRozan or Zach LaVine with the ball, and they're a huge threat to drive to the rim, and it's better to prevent that and give Vooch an opportunity at maybe an open shot. Vooch shot 31% from 3 this year, and I can promise you those are almost entirely open three-pointers, so the guy has been a bad shooter, but in game 2, he went 4 for 8 from outside. And as for DeMar, when he's hot from mid-range, really there's nothing you could do besides for injure the guy, and we're not the bad boy Pistons, so I'm not recommending that. There was a lot of talk about how DeMar hunted Giannis on the switch in game 2, but if we're being real, he was just hitting difficult-ass shots over him. Here is every mid-range shot that DeMar hit over Giannis in game 2, other than maybe doubling him here, which honestly you're just going to leave someone else open, and that's going to be a higher percentage shot than what DeMar is doing here. I think you just kind of got to live with this result. Same goes for Vucevic's three-pointers. It's possible the rest of this series DeMar doesn't miss from mid-range regardless of the contest, and Vucevic is just a complete sniper from outside, but I would not bet on it. These games were outliers in terms of shooting. One thing that the Bucks could stand to do that would really affect the Bulls' offense isn't an adjustment that they need to make on the defensive side of the floor, but rather on the offensive side, it's in relation to, well, turnovers. The Bulls get a lot of transition opportunities from careless, stupid turnovers from the Bucks, stuff that they could easily clean up. Simply prevent the easy fast breaks, and you take a lot of points off of the board to put a real dent in Chicago's scoring. Now, as for my predictions for the rest of this series, really, I want to bring up a comparison here. This first round matchup reminds me a lot of a first round matchup from 2008 between the Celtics and the Atlanta Hawks. In the 1-8 matchup, the Hawks, for no good reason, pushed the Celtics to 7 games. And the reason for this is Boston played with its food for far too long. But in that series, there was a turning point where Boston was serious for like 5 seconds, and it became obvious who the better team was. Game 7 was a 34-point blowout, and I expect this series to go similarly for Chicago. I think the Bulls can take another game, but eventually the Bucks are going to flip the switch and then snap back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Shout out to Rudy for editing this video. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more content like this, and cue the outro music.